Welcome to the Sports Hangover. I'm Michael Benatar, joined alongside J-Dog.
Mike, it's good to see you. It's been a slow week in the world. Nothing going on really of note.
Yes, slow week. We took off last week. We're back this week. And I feel like everything happened. I feel in a way, Jeremy, I feel like I won. Honestly, when I saw the news of the Liv PGA thing, my first thought was I was on the right side of history. I was on the right team. I was there.
You had me until the right side of history. I'm still wondering what the right side of history is in this whole thing. You might be right about that. You and Donald Trump are the only ones who saw all of this coming, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good company to be in. He was the president, right? That's good company.
He was. And on Truth Social a year ago, he said the PGA Tour and Liv Golf would merge. So, wow, we just jumped right into it. I thought we might lead with UFOs because there's a lot of controversy going on in the skies.
We'll save some UFO talk for the end. I just had a 45-minute talk with my dad about UFOs, and he was watching Ancient Aliens on Netflix. So I'll update you on some.
Shout out to our rich friend who told me to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but he told me to.
Oh, it's great. Great show. Great. It really
Graham Hancock, right?
Yeah. All archaeologists hate him, and he's uncovering truths that no one wants to verify, but he's been verifying himself.
Okay, so stick around for alien UFO talk. But first, let's go with our golf scandal. So Mike is feeling good. Let's back up a little bit. You've been a Liv guy from the jump. You've been like, oh, there's a rival. Oh, there's a new tour. Oh, it's more fun. Oh, they pay more. Yeah. You loved it from the beginning. You didn't care it was quote unquote dirty Saudi money because apparently it's not dirty anymore. It's clean. It just they washed all that money. It's
all washed. It's all been clean.
It's all good to go.
So why
you didn't mind any of the issues originally? We just have to set up our takes. And me, as a golf guy, as someone who's spent time at golf events, from time to time, I was always kind of just repeating what the PGA Tour said because that's what professional golf is saying. That's how I feel. It turns out I was misled, and a lot of people were, and you were right all along.
That's all I wanted to hear, Jeremy. Just I was right. You were wrong. Here we are. Liv and PGA are now merging. So the news broke early this week. I was excited. As the news continued to come out, a lot of people were interested in your take. Maybe not my take so much. You were around the golf world a lot more than me. I just want to know, what were your initial thoughts on everything that happened? And then I have a lot of conspiracies. I also have a lot of questions to ask you.
Okay. I won't answer all of them.
I know.
My first reaction was shock. Everyone was so shocked. Me and the media and the people who work for these companies, for PGA Tour players, they didn't know about it. Rory and Tiger didn't even know about it. It was Jay Monahan, the commissioner, and two guys from his PGA Tour council. One of the guys who was involved in 9/11. Jimmy Dunn was supposed to go to work on 9/11 in the World Trade Center, Mike. And he did not go to work that day, some reason. And he lost all of his coworkers in 9/11. They all died. And he's the one who was negotiating with the Saudis and he said actually in an interview this week, I'm going on a little side tangent here, but he said, Jimmy Dunn, this rich guy who negotiated this whole breakdown, he said, if anyone that is currently involved with the Saudi regime or Liv Golf was involved in 9/11, I will kill them myself. That's what he said. That's what he said. So that's a thing too.
and I just want to say, we had a little conversation last night. We had some dinner. And the first thing I said to you was, it doesn't feel like dirty money when other people around the world have done terrible things and we accept them and give them a second chance. Like, we buy German things and they had the Holocaust, and Japan started a war. So a lot of this stuff we've forgiven, we forget, and we move on. And listen, it's been 20-something years now. I know it was the worst terrorist attack in U.S. history, but I think it's almost like at this point, there's a lot more behind this story than we know. And I think ultimately, I don't know. It was weird. I had so many thoughts. I hope I don't get canceled for any of these thoughts, but these are honest thoughts. Last night, I told you how many people were actually involved in 9/11 that are going and doing some stuff today. And that was one of my thoughts. I don't know. Is that, I don't know.
Well, that's just because we're not intelligent enough to understand the Saudi Arabia connection to 9/11. And we as a podcast, Mike, are not condoning any thing
No.
around this subject at all.
No.
And we are not
No.
saying to forget about it and move on, which you may have just kind of paraphrased a little bit. We're saying over time, it's possible that relationships can be mended with companies, and maybe this is a step in that direction.
Yes, but then also what else was behind a lot of the story? Like, what was wrong with the PGA? Why were they so adamant about suing and saying, stay loyal, stay with us? And then they go in a different direction and immediately say, oh, well, we're actually going to merge. So I don't know. Do you want me to ask you some questions? I have some like ideas.
Let me share a few thoughts here,
Yeah.
for me. So I was in complete shock. This is nothing that anyone saw coming. The entire way the last 2 years was a PGA Tour would never, ever do this. This would be the last thing that would ever happen, the last resolution you could ever think of. I think the executive producer of Full Swing, who started that show on Netflix last year during the beginning of the Liv PGA Tour drama, and the show did really well because of that drama, he said, if I would have given this script to Netflix and what the PGA Tour and Saudi Arabia did, Netflix would have sent it back and said, that's not real life. That's not believable. Try something else. Like, that's how crazy this is. A few high-level thoughts from me are, I feel lied to and betrayed by the PGA Tour and the PGA Tour commissioner, just like a lot of golfers do, just like a lot of fans do, because I was told to believe a certain thing. But it turns out money is always ahead of morals and all these other things in life. So money wins, like it always does. We don't know how much money it is, but it seems like it's going to be a lot of money for the tour to do this. It has to be made right for the loyal PGA Tour players who listened to that garbage from the PGA Tour and listened and took the moral high road and said, I'm not going to join Liv because of all the reasons you're telling me. Now you're taking the money, but I never got the money. So Rory McIlroy turned down potentially guaranteed $500 million. Tiger Woods turned down potentially guaranteed $800 million. Does anyone feel bad for these people? No. But there are people lower on the list who might be lesser known golfers who don't have the mansions all across the world, who are trying to raise a family on tight funds, who could have joined Liv, but also took the moral high road. I think it has to be made right for all of them. Rory said he's been made a sacrificial lamb, and it's so true. He was turned into that for the PGA Tour, and that's not fair. You know, me and Rory are boys. Can I just pause?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Jeremy's up.
Let me just show you. Let me show you. This is me and Rory. This is me and Rory. All right. We're boys. Like, we're literally boys. If you're watching on YouTube, this is a pretty good visual here. And I feel bad for what Rory.
Can I just say, since it's like low quality video, it kind of looks like it might have been photoshopped.
Does it look like that? It's a real picture.
I know, but it's like you're kind of standing in the background a little bit of it, and Rory's face is turned. It's just like,
tell them what to do.
It looks like the ultimate Photoshop, but it's a real photo. It's a real photo. It's not a Photoshop. It'd be weird if you had Photoshop photos of you and celebrities in your house. That's
actually kind of a fun idea. Like, walk in someone's house, like, wow, you met all these people? No, I've never met any of them. Anyway,
never met anybody.
So Rory, I feel bad for, and everyone in that camp, and also a level of, I'm disturbed now as a golf fan going forward. Does Saudi Arabia hold the keys to professional golf in the world? Are they in charge of shaping the future of golf? And what does that mean for a company who isn't necessarily pro-America in a lot of ways, going back to 9/11 to some degree? What does that mean for the future of professional golf? Those are a few of my main points at the top.
So I think the big thing is we have learned, Jeremy. We have always learned. We always knew this. And I told you this last night. We have swag up on the website right now. Always take the money. The money is key. The winner is always money. You take the money, you never look back, and do not be loyal to your company. Your company does not give a shit about you. It is a business and a business first, and people want to make money. This was a business decision. There is no morals decided in business. You want to make money, and that's the goal of it. And from sources we know here, somewhere around the world, from some insiders, PGA might have been going broke, and they started pumping a lot of money into giving more bags to the players. And who knows what they could have been in 1 year, 2 years from now. I think this is a lesson to a lot of people. If you're at a job, if you're stuck at a job and somebody else offers you more money, go take the money. Do not. That's what NFL players do. That's what NBA players do. That is what the movement of the player movement in all the sports are. Get the bag, get the money. That's what it's all about. Now, if you're doing it for other reasons, that's fine. But I don't think that's what a lot of people get into sports for. Like, obviously, it's a fun thing to do, but you're putting your body up at. I mean, maybe not in golf, but like in football, you're putting your mind up for.
Tiger sacrificed his body quite a bit through the years.
He did, but some of it was self-inflicted.
A lot of it was, yeah, true.
But yeah, I just
what about the idea of Saudi Arabia getting into sports in general? Is that an okay thing? What if they buy the NBA? What if they do this with NFL? What if they buy an NFL team? We know they're involved in soccer. We know they're trying to get involved in F1. A WWE was rumored at one point. What if Saudi Arabia says, okay, oil's not going to work for the next 20 years because you're all going to electric vehicles, so we're going to get into sports, which you love. Like, is that okay or is that a concern?
Well, like I said, we were talking last night, and I thought as an opportunity, as a businessman around the world, anybody around the world that has a lot of money, this is the ideal time to start a competitor to any single league in the world. Do you think The Rock's XFL is actually going to be successful? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of people have attempted at these alternative leagues, but ultimately your goal is to either get purchased or become so successful that you can kind of walk away, sell your shares, and do something else. But I think this is the time now where a lot of people are seeing like, there doesn't need to be a monopoly in golf. There can be alternative leagues that either A, will be merged into other leagues, or your league might become bigger and better. Who knows? But I think this is like the ideal time. All the billionaires, even like celebrities now, are buying like random soccer teams around the world and trying to make them the best teams in the world to make more money from it. I think everybody notices that live TV is going only to sports and news. That is the only thing that's happening that people will pay for advertising. No one tunes in to anything else live. I have not tuned in to one thing live. Now, I see you're watching live CNN in the back, but I have not watched live news in a long time. Maybe when like the debates are on or something like that. But I think right now I think it's an opportunity time, and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm curious to see if they're going to rename PGA and Liv. If it's going to be something else. Are players going to refuse?
It's going to be the PGA Tour, it seems. Liv Golf might go away. We don't know what Liv Golf might continue in some capacity. We don't know. But the PGA Tour is what it does is it seems like it's going to get all these Liv guys back to the PGA Tour. And that was the main thing here is to end the litigation, right, and get all these guys back to the U.S. and playing at all these courses. And also it probably helps the TV contracts that they're in because they lost the Koepkas and the Phils and the DJs to CW, which I know you were excited about. Never did well. They stopped reporting those ratings. So I don't know what happens to CW in their little deal, but at least it goes back on mainstream media.
So is this a positive or a negative for the casual sports fan? Does the casual, like, ultimately, I don't really care if it was Liv or PGA. I don't watch golf much. Now, if I'm gambling on golf, sure, I'll tune in on a Sunday and see where my money's going to go. Probably nowhere. But I don't know. Does this actually affect, like our friend Thomas is watching right now.
Hey,
he likes playing golf.
Thomas.
You know, here he is. Look at that, Thomas. But I don't know, ultimately, does Thomas really care about what's going to happen? So, like, this doesn't change him going out on Sunday, going to play 18 holes.
Well,
right?
Let's ask Thomas to chime in with his comments and share for us. We'll be happy to read them. In the interim, I would say Thomas is not a casual fan. He's a hardcore fan. And so the hardcore fans are looking at this, I think, a little more skeptically. Like, we were just lied to for 2 years. What's going on here? The dust needs to settle until we think this is a good thing. For the casual fan, which you also asked about, actually, I do think it's a good thing for the casual fan because golf was segmented. The PGA Tour was not at full capacity of superstars. And now getting all these guys who've been playing on Liv on CW, no one watched them, getting them back, like I said, to main events on the weekends and CBS and NBC, that's going to be good for the casual fan to tune in because you see more good golf, more superstars, and golf is a superstar sport. So I think it could be a good thing in the long run, but how did we get here? And we have to clean this up before we just say it's a good thing.
So I have a question. So when you're part of the PGA, is this something you have to be a part of? Like, can Rory go play somewhere else, or is he always part of the PGA? Like, that's what I'm wondering. Like, is it a league, or is it just you are accepted into this atmosphere? It's not like the NFL, right? Like, you play alternative games. Like, the U.S. Open is not part of the PGA, right? So how does all this interact with each other?
That's correct. Majors are separate from the PGA Tour, but the PGA Tour is every week except the majors and the Ryder Cup. So it's everything in between, everything else at the highest level. So it would be like you're a member of the NFL and then you leave the NFL and you go play the XFL, but you wouldn't play in the XFL and the NFL. And you go down to play in the XFL. So PGA Tour players are independent contractors. They qualify. They have rankings. It's not like they sign a contract to play on the PGA Tour. It's like they earn their way on the PGA Tour.
This is Thomas's response. He cares but it does change his stance on if he watches the tour versus playing. No,
He
I
says,
still
no,
watch.
it does not change his
No,
stance.
it's
I'll
not.
still watch and play.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really change his stance as a hardcore fan, which I said, yeah, we're a little more skeptically of that. But like I said, for casual fans, for you who might throw some money on a random event, it's better for you on Sunday if all the best players in the world are on one course on one screen instead of you flipping back and forth between NBC and CW trying to keep up.
I do think this is great for golf because golf was so old. Everything was old school. Everything was like, you have to do this, you have to do that. Felt like the Live guys were like living it up. They were flying around in like private jets with bars on it. They were weren't they able to like wear shorts, and the PGA players are not able to wear shorts?
Yeah, there's music at events, there's party holes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like this was something that needed the change because it's almost like the world of golf is going that direction. It's like bros on the weekend going to get drunk, playing some holes, and having fun. And it's not this boring old person sport anymore. People are basically leaving the house to go have fun and play golf, and it needs to be represented the same on the field. And I think Liv tried to do a little bit of that, and hopefully we see some of that bleed into the PGA.
I think it's fair to say that Liv has certain good qualities, like the shorts, like the music, like certain aspects. Some people like the team aspect. I don't get the team aspect of it. It doesn't do much for me, but apparently they're going to be able to sell these teams of golfers with like naming rights to like big companies. And that's going to be another way to bring in big investments. Like maybe Gillette would own the High Flyers team, which is apparently worth like $2 billion. And they're the Gillette High Flyers. And you can really spend more money on that. We don't know the future of the team aspect. The PGA Tour is very individual. There's like a couple match play events, like 2 throughout the year, not many. There's not many team events, but do we incorporate more from Liv? And that's what the PGA Tour is saying so far. We're going to take this empirical evaluation, is what they kept saying, of the Liv Tour after the year. So what does that mean? Hopefully they take the best parts of it and leave the worst parts behind, but we'll see. I just I don't think I'm ready to say it's a good thing until the dust settles and we learn more, because we don't know what the future is.
So let me throw some hypotheticals at you. Everybody comes back from Liv and goes and plays PGA. There's a built-in rival now. I think the Liv guys versus the other guys.
Yeah.
If the PGA guys don't get paid out, what happens to those guys? Do they refuse to play? Do they throw a strike? Are they able to strike? Is it an actual union?
Do they go the Liv route? Do they have to start their own? Wouldn't that be the most like craziest thing? The loyal PGA Tour guys are the ones who leave and spin out their own league to compete to get a fair shake. Like that would be the most irony of ever.
It just seems crazy to me that the idea that they were suing and in litigation, burning tons of money, and they kept telling their players, do not leave. Because there were some guys getting offered tons of money that were not celebrity golfers. And I think for them, it's going to be really hard. What do? Does Liv come in and offer them more money to be part of like these teams? Are you on a team and maybe you get paid when you're on a bigger team? I don't know. Do the Liv guys get sued and have to turn back some of their money to put back into the pool for PGA and make bigger?
As far as I know, that was guaranteed money that they don't have to give up, and they're not planning to give up. You're so right. They have to make it right for the PGA Tour. I would think and hope these 3 men who went into a room and negotiated this with the Saudis know how much money is coming in, and they have a way to make it right for the Rorys and all the players that are much less famous and much less rich than him, but it hasn't been explained yet. And so there's been some meetings with the PGA Tour players and Jay Monahan, the commissioner, so far. Apparently they called for him to resign, and there was a standing ovation in the room. He didn't have any answers. You know, he went on one of the TV networks this week and was fumbling through the 9/11 answer. Like he still didn't have a good answer for how that all played out.
There is no good answer. It's like, we took the money because we were going to go broke and we had to do it. That's the answer, but he can't say that. We can say that, but he can't.
You're saying that.
I'm saying
you're
that.
saying that.
I'm saying that.
It's your theory. And you might be right. And maybe that is the simplest thing. Even if that's all true, how does he survive? How does he continue leading this organization?
Well, I mean, the problem is if they fire him or he resigns, I don't think the PGA wants the Liv guy to take over. Now, the Liv guy also, I don't know his name, he didn't know anything about this. So as the CEO...
Greg Norman is out.
Oh,
Greg got a call. We learned that in the CNBC interview. Greg got a call right before the interview that was happening, and that they made this deal. And Tiger, I think, said 2 things about if we were ever going to get together with Liv. Like Tiger said this months and months ago. He said if this was ever going to work, 2 things had to happen. 1, Greg Norman has to get the hell out of here.
Why didn't they
not be involved? Because he was the one driving so many stakes and wedges in the PGA Tour. and just started the rivalry and started recruiting the players and was making all these promises and was saying you'll never survive on the tour. And maybe that's true, but he's the one who caused a lot of the scandal. So Greg Norman had to be out.
Okay, I like him.
We'll get to who worked. We don't feel bad for Greg Norman. He was actually a choker as a golfer, by the way. He choked away a lot of majors. I'm just gonna say. Okay. He sold a lot of clothes with those little shark design. We see those on the Florida malls, right, all the time. The shark, Greg Norman. The second thing that Tiger always said is you have to drop the lawsuits. And of course, with a merger already happening, all the lawsuits do get dropped. And that goes to your point. So maybe that is accurate. Those are the two things that had to happen. So Norman doesn't continue. Someone who I think looks great at the end of the day, someone who has been ostracized, someone who made a putt at the Masters in Augusta to finish runner-up in this past year's Masters as a 50-plus-year-old, Phil Mickelson, and half of the Masters audience didn't boo him, but they like sat in their chairs on their hands and didn't even clap. And it was like such a cringe setting. And like Masters has the smartest, most honorable golf fans. For them not to support Phil there of all places, Phil's, Q score was so low. I think Phil's the winner here. I think Phil could lead this new tour. Phil's the one who said, we need change on the tour. We need to start a rival. We need bigger purses. We need more flexibility. It was Phil. And now it's all happening. It's like he orchestrated it all. Anyway, I think
it seems great. Now, I mean, it feels like I don't think it's conspiracy, but it does definitely feel like we're these Liv guys. They're like, yeah, we have tons of money. Let's go to litigation with PGA, and eventually they're gonna have to like hand over we're gonna have to merge or buy them out because it is a true merger. No one bought PGA did not buy Liv. Liv's agreed to become one with PGA. So it's a mutual agreement of them together.
Don't forget about the DP World Tour. The PGA Tour of Europe was also the third entity here. So it's a new commercial entity with the three companies. It's a big tour. It's just you don't hear much about it because they play in Europe. It's the European tour, essentially.
And will they play in Europe? Will more guys now have to go over to Europe and play? Don't they already play in Europe? Like Ireland and stuff like that?
They have certain events, yeah, in the summer, several events, and there could be more. They won't be required. I think one of the things with Liv is the whole play when you want, as little as you want, the whole flexibility thing.
That's great. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, any other?
You feel like you're on the right side of history. That's an interesting way to put it. You might be right. It's just an interesting headline.
I mean, everybody, no matter what I said, I was like pro Liv. No one wanted to be on my side. Everybody in our mutual threads are like, Liv sucks, Liv this. But they were right. They took the bag, they got the money, and they were right in the end.
And I give you a lot of credit, Mike, because people need to know. If there's ever a new thing going on in the world that is going to be successful, you're the first to know about it. And you're the first to call it. You are spotting trends. You are an influencer. You're using the new things. You're embracing the new things. You love the disruption of of it all. And I give you a lot of credit because you're normally right when it's new technology, when it's a new sports thing, when it's this Liv thing. It's like you normally get it right early, and I give you credit.
We've been podcasting for 13 years. Podcasting is now like a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we have a small percentage.
A very small percentage. I'll just mention, just to throw cold water on the whole thing. How is this not a monopoly in the world of golf? Why will the antitrust and the DOJ allow it to go? I don't think we have answers to that. And a conspiracy theory would say, well, maybe it won't go through. And this is just a way to drop the lawsuit and make everyone kumbaya.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I mean, the NFL kind of had a monopoly for years too. And so there's like MLS, and so there's baseball. And
but wait, what could the NFL probably not do in the US? They could probably not buy the XFL and the USFL and merge with them because that is creating a monopoly, right? Like the DOJ would normally not allow that.
Yeah, I don't know, because if you look at the NHL, there's only the NHL. There is no amateur hockey.
That's because the NHL barely makes money as it is.
So even NBA, let's say NBA, because NBA like kind of has the G League. I feel like NBA owns a little bit of the G League. But no one is stopping these one leagues and saying you are a monopoly. I think maybe because it's not like tech or something that there's no reason why other companies can't start it. But it's kind of like Google. If Google tries to buy something, or when Microsoft was going through that in like the 90s, I think it was more about the technology or something. It's like no one can compete, but technically no one can really compete with Google and they're like data and search. So I think it's just like they pick and choose what they want to shut down and what they want to, like Microsoft and is it Blizzard or Microsoft and somebody, they're trying to buy a gaming company.
Microsoft Activision.
Yeah. And they're like having to go through, not going through. It's like, this is what's weird. It's like You're not going to let that go through, but this golf thing can go through no problem. And there is no other competition. So I think competition is definitely good in business and in sports. And that's why I love the XFL and the spring football leagues.
You love it so much, you don't watch much
I
of
don't
it.
watch it, but I'm a big supporter.
You love the idea of it.
Yes, I love the idea of it.
Just to finish my DOJ comments, I do have Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal ready to fight this. Apparently, Richard Blumenthal is not happy about this arrangement, and he is a current senator who is ready to fight this. So we'll see what happens.
All right, real quick. This is some other big news too. We want to talk about Messi going to an MLS team, talking about MLS, which we never talk about soccer. Soccer is probably one of the sports we've never talked about before.
I don't understand, and this is my soccer ignorance, right? People say Messi's now going to be as big as Michael Jordan or Pele or on that level. And I need someone to explain that to me because he's 35 years old. I don't think he's as good as he used to be. Why is he now playing in America going to get to that level?
I don't think I'm the man to explain this to you, but he is definitely, even I know him and I am not a soccer fan. So I think just bringing him to the U.S. and him becoming a very famous or the famous only soccer player that anybody in America can name, he's going to make a lot of money. This is a great deal for Apple. Apple struck a deal with them to basically give them the Michael Jordan deal, right? They're going to get rev share of the streams, rev share. He's going to get a percentage of all.
I've never seen anything like it. That's never been done in sports to our knowledge. Right?
All his uniform sales, he's going to get a percentage of.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to buy a part of the team after he's done playing there. This is a huge deal. I think I don't know. I wish I was in the negotiation room because I don't understand how they got to this deal. Was Apple in the room saying hey, we just bought all of MLS rights. We want this guy to be a star. We want people to subscribe. And maybe this was the back end deal for Apple because they didn't get NFL, which they definitely should have gotten NFL. Would have been great on Apple. But it's on Google.
Is Messi a bigger deal than Sunday Ticket? I don't know.
I think internationally it is. I don't know.
But Apple TV's not international, are they?
I don't.
They don't have MLS international rights.
No. But I don't even know who watches MLS. That's the problem. I have not tuned in. It is all over.
Soccer is a big deal in the U.S. Despite us not being soccer fans, we have to admit soccer is a big deal. Our mutual friend is not a soccer fan yet. He wakes up on weekend mornings and watches Premier League.
Can I tell you why? He's a degenerate. And he gambles on the games and has mimosas and watches them. So
his wife likes to watch too. She's not gambling.
I think she might be becoming a degenerate too. So you never know.
I don't think that's fair to call all soccer fans degenerates. I think soccer is growing so much in the U.S. It's growing among a young fan base, which means there's room to grow compared to golf or baseball, these other sports. We know it's growing in the Hispanic fan base. We know America is becoming more and more Hispanic. So it only makes sense that these demographics are going to continue to rise and soccer will get more popular in the U.S. and Messi will be a driving force in that. All that being said, I don't understand how it's on the same level as a LeBron, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. And maybe that's my soccer ignorance, but I'm just getting early on that where I don't get it.
I think you almost have to. It's in the way you're talking about Messi, we already knew who he was. We have never watched soccer. We know his face. We know what team he was on. And we now know that he's in America. And he's playing on an American team in Miami, which is a great spot to pick. Go to Miami, play there. I think this is the best move for soccer. I think this is the best move for Apple TV and the best for Adidas. Adidas didn't have American stars that can drive traffic to their uniforms. There's no one in the NBA that I would buy their shoe. I'm not buying James Harden Adidas shoes. And
I've always been a Kyrie fan.
I just don't. I think this is a big, big deal. And I don't know how big it's going to be. I'm probably not going to watch. Now, I guess if I buy an Apple device in the next few months, I might get free MLS on my Apple TV and maybe tune in, but I have no desire to watch soccer. No part of me wants to tune in on a Saturday morning and watch.
I'm not going that far. The Men's World Cup, which was led by Messi having the World Cup final match of his life when they beat France in that championship game, was unbelievable. That was so good. And we watched that, right? We didn't watch it together, but I know you watched. I watched.
I watched
it. And so there are moments of soccer that are great. The Women's World Cup is coming up. I think there'll be similar high-level moments throughout that. The U.S. women's team, especially if they do well, which they have before. I think what's interesting is if Apple didn't get involved to the level they did with revenue sharing and subscription sharing and things like that, it seems like the Saudis, who we just talked about for 25 minutes on golf, were going to also
Yes.
purchase Messi in a way
for $1 billion
and bring him to a Saudi. It was over $1 billion, right? It's like
Yeah.
$1.7 billion or something.
It's an insane
And bring
amount
him
of
to
money.
a Saudi Arabia team. And Apple had to get involved, I would think, because I'm guessing here negotiations start MLS versus Saudi. Oh, this number is 1.7. What's the MLS number? It's less without Apple's involvement. So Apple had to get to the table and influence the offer, I would guess, to bring him to the U.S.
I would imagine that if the sales of his uniform and Apple TV subscriptions go up, I imagine it's somewhere in the realm of $1 billion in the next 5 years that he makes, for sure.
And that's enough. And sometimes when you make a few $100 million, that's also enough. You don't need the billions, but it's just weird. Take the money, like you said. Take the money.
As I listen to, I've been listening to like billionaires have conversations, and it's not that they're out of touch. It's that things become. Yes, you can have everything, but let's say you made $100 million this year, Jeremy. After taxes, let's call it $50 million. But you want to go buy a private plane. That private plane cost you $100 million. So now you're like, well, damn, I need to make more money. So I need to make $200 million next year so then I can afford this plane and keep the maintenance up for it. So it almost becomes like, instead of you wanting to buy a $500 TV, now you want to buy a $500 million plane and a $500 million yacht, and your purchases become bigger. So in turn, you're like, well, I got to make more money so I can buy all this other shit. So it becomes a very material way of doing it, because now your basic needs are met. You don't need to make $100 million to have food and a roof over your head. You need to make a lot less. But I think these guys start to become like, well, you can buy anything. Then you have an entourage around you, and you have all these other things you got to pay for. So it is a very weird, it seems like a weird life, because all of a sudden the things you want you can get anything if you have enough money. And then the guys are like, well, I'm going to go make more money somewhere else.
You're right. The rich people I know do a lot of things to stay rich. Like they ask for free shit. They don't pay people well, like in certain aspects, and that's how rich people do stay rich, because they have to stay and they have to stay at your level. But there is a level of richness you can get to, and then it's like, what are you really adding on to it at this point?
I think the difference between rich and wealthy, it's like you want to be wealthy because you can do what you want with your time and do whatever you want. But rich is like, I need to continue becoming richer and richer and make more money. So I think it's two different things.
The area I live in is rich, and the Hollywood Hills, which I look at, are wealthy.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know if I feel like the Hollywood Hills are rich.
They're pretty wealthy. Can we talk about UFOs before we go?
Yeah. What do you want to talk? We've been
I caught up on the thread. I was a little behind on the thread. It's been a big week of conspiracy theory UFO sightings. So apparently, there's all these whistleblowers out there that are sharing how this is so concrete, how there's proof of like UFOs and aliens, and Congress is just not allowing it. I don't know the latest headlines, but that's kind of the gist of what I've seen.
So I feel like in the last 3 days, it's been a lot with PGA. It's also been a lot with Donald Trump. It's then doing the Messi thing, and then not only that, UFOs. And the UFO thing is kind of crazy. So we had the whistleblower come out saying blah, blah, blah. There's UFOs. They know about all this. It honestly kind of seemed a little fake to me. Like, this guy was so confident that he wasn't going to get murdered after this interview. And I don't know if, like, when you're claimed a whistleblower, do you all of a sudden like get this like security guard around you? Because if that was me, I would be terrified to show my face if all this was true. You're telling me that man went on there confidently knowing he wasn't going to get executed or murdered by somebody else? That's what worried me first. So watch out for him to disappear. Second, there's been UFOs that have crashed, or a UFO that crashed in Vegas in the last month. Video body camera footage just came out of it, and a 911 call of saying, hey, yeah, there's like a 8-10 foot guy in the backyard, big shiny eyes and huge mouth. And like, we're terrified. He's like, this is not a joke. Like, there's really somebody out here. 911 came out. They're identifying like an actual crash spot for it. People are dissecting the video, saying they saw some of the alien back there. I'm just saying right now, I don't know what is happening. Now, remember when I said the timeline shifted a few months ago when the the quantum whatever collider projector turned on. We shipped it into another universe. Things are moving. I don't know if you caught up on the 2027 thing I've been pumping.
I want to hear more about that. So we really are going to make it 3 more years is my takeaway, because it doesn't feel like we're going to make it.
It doesn't feel like it. Yeah, so I don't know. On TikTok, there are a lot of people that are claiming this theory of 2027, a big event is going to happen. Something maybe with humans integrating with AI, robots, alien invasions. A lot of time travelers have come from 2027, supposedly. So I don't know what's happening. All I know is that the more I watch, the more terrified I get of the future, because things seem grim.
Our Texas friend, he says, spend your money, go have fun, live your life, because there's no reason to save much more.
No, it's kind of, So our conspiracy theory thread, I feel like we should just take screenshots of like all the weird stuff we posted in there. But it's
been the most productive week on that thread I've ever seen. It took me a while to catch up.
there was a lot in there.
Yeah, TikTok's going crazy.
Go look up the Vegas crash of the UFO. It seems. Listen, I take everything with a grain of salt. I don't believe that it might have actually landed, but I'd like to. I'd like to believe all this, but I don't know. If I did, I would be crazy. I'm not that crazy.
Not that crazy. We're somewhat crazy, but not that crazy. Yeah. Before we go, shout out to the U.S. Open in L.A. next week. We're so excited. Unfortunately, you're leaving town, so you can't go, but I'm bringing a mutual friend out there. LACC, the boys are buzzing. We saw the thread start to get some action on it today.
What's LACC? The
LA Country Club.
Oh, you're on the country.
That's right.
Make sure our mutual friend doesn't get wasted. I know it's open bar, so keep tabs on him. I know.
Why can't he get wasted?
I know he loves a good open bar. You're at a very fancy country club.
I'm going to act like I don't know him if he gets wasted. That's the beauty of being at a fancy country club. You just go off with other people.
I like that.
And blend in. Do you have a pick for the U.S. Open yet? That's what I'm getting at. I know you've been on the majors. You're not on the PGA Tour events, but for the majors, anyone come to mind?
No, I have no idea. If I get a sheet to enter a gambling contest, I will let you know what I need. Usually, next week, I'll get an email.
Yeah, next Wednesday, you'll send that to me. I got an early pick. It's a SoCal boy, Max Homa. Look out for him.
All right. Should I bet on him? What are his odds?
He's not a
Thomas
favorite.
is saying that guy.
You know John Rombo. A loyal PGA Tour player, Mike. You love those guys.
Don't like those guys.
There's a big 3 in American golf right now, and on the PGA Tour at least, and it's Rahm and Koepka and not Koepka. It's Rahm, Scheffler, and Rory are the 3, and so they are going to be the ones to focus on the PGA Tour side.
All right, good show. Check out thesportshangover.com. We have Take the Money T-shirts. Take the money. That's the idea here. You always take the money. So their T-shirts are up on the website of the Sports Hangover. Nice. Check it out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need more subscribers here. We're going to be doing a lot more video content. So go to our YouTube channel. I think it's just youtube.com/sportshangover. All right. Good show.